Hello everybody, Andy here, and every month-ish, strong-ish, not gonna lie, I like to do a Patreon Q&A video. This is of course for everybody to watch and leave comments on, but the only people asking the questions are my patrons over on my Patreon, which is, that's it, these are the questions I'm answering today. Normally, and you might be wondering, Andy, what's with the huge downgrade in where you're recording from? Oddly, you know, to enhance that parasocial relationship, although my videos are normally in my content creation room on the other side of this wall, for my patrons, I tend to scale it down, enhance the voice, you know, go here, lure them to my boudoir, if you will. Unless I'm doing an unboxing, then obviously I need the camera set up. Hence, we're in a different room. There you go, that's all I was saying. I don't know. So, you know, hey, a massive thank you to Patreons, all of them, the true lifeblood of the channel, and this video is just another way that I try to give back to them for their support. And so today's hello is not a subscriber-only benefit, it is in fact a Patreon-only benefit. That's right, a Patreon-exclusive double hello. Wow. I had a lot of questions, and so some of them kind of needed me to sit down and really think about. Otherwise, this whole video would just be huge, me stammering over thoughts and concepts, vibes, frankly. So to stop that being, you know, a video that would need to be highly edited, I've written all of my answers, hence why I'm going to be reading off of a script, because otherwise, this will be a long video. Yeah, it would just be painful to listen to. So anyway, I can bring the questions up here. Lovely jubbly. Okay, yeah, that works. First up, we have Kill Team Ken. How do you encourage faster play without a chess clock or timer? Or how do you make chess clocks fun? I don't like the idea of chess clocks, but hate slow players. So, Ken is aware of, as all of my patrons are, of course, and has played both, in fact, my Blitz format and my glass half-minute format that use sand timers, and if he's not into either of those, because otherwise he wouldn't ask the question, there's really no answer. I don't know, tell whoever you're playing against that you have an alarm set on your phone for 2 hours, and when it goes off you have to leave your casual game and go back home. There you go. Just you know, you don't want to time them specifically. Life has a time limit. You can't stay there forever. At some point the game has to end. Just tell them, yeah, sorry, only got 2 hours today. And then, I don't know. You know, if your opponent naturally plays slowly by accident, they will probably just say, okay, no problem, and then still play slowly. If they play slowly intentionally, then they will just kind of still do that, to be honest. But you wouldn't be playing them in a casual game, right? If they played painfully slowly, so. If you refuse to put in a penalty for being slow, then you literally cannot stop slowness. I think the Blitz format was fun. If you don't, I can't help you. There you go. Theo Decker. Let me scroll it down for you. Oh wait, I've gone too far. No, I haven't. I can't. Yep, okay. Theo Decker, can you recommend any dope tokens to replace the standard cardboard ones? There are so many options, honestly. So I use smaller tokens from a Polish guy off Etsy called wartiles.pl. They're really, you know, nice, vibrant color, lots of different colors as well. You've probably seen people recently talking about base steppers for movement. He does those too. That's where most people are getting theirs from at the moment. But the more I play, actually, I think I would have preferred the larger tokens he does. I bought smaller ones, but actually what I care about is that things can be seen on a camera, so I would have preferred larger ones. But I think for actual gameplay, smaller ones are probably better. In the US, Luster's Workshop does some nice tokens, I would say, along with a cool carry case for them. Which actually, thinking about it now, I might go back to using in my games because I want some larger tokens than the ones I'm currently using. Art of War in the UK does nice tokens, if you like that see-through acrylic stuff. But I will say that I didn't get on with their combined wound counters and order tokens. great separately, didn't gel together. Really, lovely idea, didn't quite work for me. Then have Phil Johnson, or Tabletop Impulse. You have recently been in your fantasy era. Again, there's probably going to be some Patreon specific notes in here, and that is one of them. And casting around looking for fantasy skirmish games to play, and yet you have not really mentioned the apparently obvious choice, Warcry. Games Workshop certainly seems to think Warcry is Age of Sigmar Kill Team. What's wrong with Warcry? How would you fix it? Can there ever be a fantasy skirmish game as good as Kill Team, given the general lack of range combat in a fantasy setting? So, I've written an answer, but I realised that I missed part of it in the answer, so not really mentioned. Games Workshop certainly seems to think that Warcry is Age of Sigmar Kill Team. I don't think that's the case. I think that Games Workshop just doesn't do a good job of communicating what its games are. If you just want sci-fi skirmish, fantasy skirmish, then yes, Warcry is the Sigmar version of Kill Team, but they play so intensely differently, but Games Workshop doesn't communicate that, and that's a GW issue when it comes to getting new players into the game. So many people from 40k, when seeing the new edition of Kill Team, assume that it's just easier to play 40k until they play it and they realise it's harder to play, or in some respects. And they're like, oh, I wanted a quicker, faster game. Boring. You know? I think that GW does a terrible job of managing mechanical expectations of their games. Truth be told. What was the 40k 10th? Simplified, not simple. Yeah, sure, man. So anyway, right, what's wrong with Warcry? So oddly, I had already started writing a script called What's Wrong with Warcry when this question came in from Phil. I'm going to give you the short version though, because obviously that is a very long video. There is nothing wrong with Warcry, and is of course the only Games Workshop game to actually win any sort of outside award. So clearly it's doing something right, and there is no doubt that for some people Warcry is the best game Games Workshop makes, and the best fantasy skirmish game created in the world ever. But obviously not for me, otherwise I'd be playing it instead of Kill Team. I am going to make some grand statements with no qualifiers, because otherwise this video might become a wargaming based video instead of a men's grooming tips video. That will make sense in about 4 minutes. Warcry is fun and fast and has mechanics that encourage randomness and does nothing to address the balance of the added randomness, unfortunately. It also doesn't do much to deal with activation advantage, and to me that's a massive issue. It's a shame the reactions they added this edition didn't do that. It honestly seems like a missed opportunity, because when I first heard of reactions I assumed it was some fantasy version of Overwatch, in a sense. It requires a lot of hobby and money investment just like any other hobby game, but then doesn't provide an appropriate level of reward. On to the final part of his question. Could a fantasy skirmish game ever be as good as a sci-fi skirmish game due to lack of ranged combat? Firstly, I'm going to assume you mean fantasy like Lord of the Rings, not fantasy like War Machine, as War Machine gets around like the no ranged issue by having, you know, pistols, guns, repeating rifles, that sort of thing. This seems like, what's the word? False dichotomy? I don't know what words mean. Yeah. I don't see why not. This is like, I'm going off script, so prepare for some stumbling. This is like when children in the playground, Phil's a teacher, so he relate to this. Children in the playground will say, you know, like, no, I can't, I don't know what I'm saying. Okay, I'm gonna stop. That was gonna be very funny, but I forgot how it goes. Yeah. Yeah, this is why I shouldn't go off script. I don't see why not. With many games, they tend to make melee in some way a hindrance. This is typically by a penalty to enter or leave combat, and then if melee isn't lethal enough, you end up with a big blob in the middle of the board that no one can actually leave, or, you know, if it's not lethal enough, kill anything, so you're just kind of stuck. However, you do typically want people to move towards the middle of the board, and you lure them there with objectives, because this is called a war game, not a stand around and do nothing game. Okay, just imagine I put in some joke here about 40k being crap. You get it. You get it. Yeah. I don't even need to say it. You agree with me. It's fine. Combat is always at the core of a war game, obviously. I suppose that melee is typically too punishing when it comes to movement in fantasy games. Truth is, I haven't played enough to say with much authority on this. I personally don't think that creating a good fantasy skirmish game would be any more challenging than creating a good sci-fi skirmish game. You can still give the ranged attacks the appropriate weight of consequence, the melee the ease or restriction of movement and lethality that you want in either game. Is my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe I just don't play enough games that aren't GW. Certainly most of the games I've been playing of late that aren't GW tend to be sci-fi games. Maybe that's on me. We then have Russell Pereira. Sorry. How to beat Gellerpox. So I kill the swarm. Kill the swarm. Hope the big guys don't kill you. There you go. It's all about target priority, but it's also all about hoping your faction has the tools to deal with Gellerpox, which not every faction actually has. So yeah, Gellerpox are pretty good because they are quite a skew list and have multiple paths to victory, which not every faction can deal with. Also helps if you roll 6s. Will Warpcoven ever win a tournament? Could they win a tournament? Yes. Will they win a larger tournament? No. Will I try Wasteland Warfare as it has a solo mode? Interestingly, in the Kill Team solo play script I've written but have yet to record due to reasons already discussed in previous videos, I actually mentioned Wasteland Warfare, but I don't much care for the aesthetic and themes of Fallout outside of a run through the games, to be honest. So it honestly seems pretty unlikely. The solo deck is cool though. It does get a mention in my solo play Kill Team video. And finally, what life wisdom can I impart to my viewers? So the majority of my viewers are not 18-year-old TikTokers, they're of a slightly older persuasion. Life advice for the youngsters is super easy, whereas for older chaps, chapesses and chapai, it's a bit harder because we don't need generic platitudes. Typically, we have specific problems that won't be fixed with wait a year because your life is changing so fast you literally won't have this problem anymore. We have problems that we have almost certainly gotten ourselves into and need specific focused advice to get out of. So I guess all I can really say is don't let that grey matter get too rigid. Be open to new experiences and know that you, like everyone, are probably wrong as much as you're right. Mental plasticity in all areas of your life will only possibly be a benefit to you. Addendum to this, if you're not ready to listen, then you're not ready to talk. Wayne Howe, will I ever start a men's grooming and fashion channel? Unnecessary, Wayne. Let me hit you with a full summary of a man's grooming channel in about 2 minutes, assuming I speak fast enough, or read fast enough, right? Men's grooming is much like men's cooking. If you can't cook, you aren't a functional adult. Likewise, if you can't groom yourself, you aren't a functional adult. So here's the hot tips everyone needs to know. If you do not carry deodorant with you whenever you have a bag, then you haven't yet graduated to learn the rest of these tips. Just throwing that out there. Even if you shower every day, sometimes you will just end up stinking. Carry deodorant with you. Not a hard thing. There are only 3 true facial grooming faux pas these days. Unibrow, ear hair, nose hair. Get a nose hair trimmer. It takes 30 seconds and is under £10. It can do your ears too, but pro tip, it's really hard to see your ear hair. If you have never trimmed your ear hair, you do have ear hair. If you go to a Turkish barber, ask them to flame your ear hair, and they'll handle it for you. Unibrow, just pluck the middle. If you have a moustache, that should not connect and grow up into your nose hair. Sort your life out, please. That is horrifying. There should be a defined stop of moustache before you get nose hair, okay? Next, if you really want to look groomed, it's all about clean lines on that beard, but also the eyebrows. When plucking your eyebrows, do not try and shape them. You will ruin them, as that's an advanced maneuver. You want to tidy them. Your eyebrow has a main body. That stays as it is. You pluck the extra hairs from around that main body. I'll say it again, do not pluck from within that main body unless you know what you're doing. I have literally never seen a neck beard that looks good. I understand I didn't pause there. You might think I'm still talking about eyebrows. I'm not, I've moved on. Don't shape your eyebrows. That's all I'm saying. You know, tidy them, don't shape them. There you go. I'll read that again. I have literally never seen a neck beard that looks good. If it is of an appropriate length to the rest of your beard, then that's fine. But if you ever put a razor to your face to get a clean line or whatever, then the first place it should touch is your neck. If you are avoiding it because of razor burn, use some hair clippers instead. It is no longer the 90s. Hipster culture of the early 2000s made being bald acceptable. If your hair is thinning, just shave it off. It will look infinitely better. Finally, dry skin, just moisturize. You've got cream or lotion. Cream has more oil, lotion has more water. Pick one and use it. I prefer lotion on the body and cream on the face. Didn't even realize I just said I like to get creamed on the face. That's on me. That's on me. I should have seen that. I see it now. I've said it, but there you go. Yeah, pick one. Yeah, cream on the face. But it literally doesn't matter. Do whatever you want. Dryness being bad extends to the lips. No one wants to look at crusty lips. Use chapstick. And that is every men's grooming YouTube channel summarized. I assume I've never watched one. I don't know what else you would tell people though, if I'm honest. He then asks an actual on-topic question. Not that these questions have to be on topic, by the way. You can ask anything, and obviously, as I've just proven, I will answer it. Feel free for all of the comments down below to completely ignore wargaming and just be about men's grooming tips. If you want to give your own, that's cool. Otherwise, I can't answer any more than what I've just said there. Is there an army I regret selling? So back in like 7th edition, maybe 6th? God, maybe 5th. I'm going to say 6th, but it might be 5th. Or something like that. I had some tau that I painted white and yellow and put on cool ruined hex bases from Micro Art Studio. Lovely. I would like to still have them. However, as I'm currently selling a lot of much larger armies than that was, I don't really regret selling anything though. I'm getting rid of everything, and honestly, it feels great. It feels great. I'm loving it. I'm loving that I have let go of that dead and dying game and dream. And part of that, I've never been a particular, despite everything you see that might make you think I get attached to physical objects. I don't. These are all not like physical things to me. They are tokens on a board that allow me to play a game, which is an experience. I value the experience. I don't value the physical object as much. So yeah, I don't really get attached to physical things. I'm very good at throwing things away when they're no longer of use to me. Probably a joke about self-esteem and dicks there, I assume. I don't know. Just fill in the blanks. Yeah, feels great. Chris and Zaldua, you, of course, undoubtedly know the man, the myth, the legend himself, academic Chris there. Who would be my dream interview for the channel? Kind of tagging along for what I just said, I don't venerate anybody, so it would be myself in 5 years. Fascinating guy, I'm sure. Mountainside tabletop rematch when? So I actually asked and they said no, so perhaps when I stop actively bullying them. I'm not sure on that one. Yeah. Top X things I want for the next edition of Kill Team. Let's scroll down so you can see all the questions. Okay. So this is nice and easy. So fix obscurity, keep the shapes exactly as they are, see full and sell full and comprehensive data cards for every possible loadout, move to a digital rule set because very genuinely, the sales model for Kill Team makes it a not viable product if it wasn't for sites like KT- or Wahapedia, and the fact that the largest monolithic game company cannot handle a very simple rule system is actually insane. Yeah. It's embarrassing. If I'm being entirely honest, it is such a failure of a rules delivery system that it's embarrassing from Games Workshop's perspective. I understand that they want to make money and that they therefore need to push as many sales onto the customers as possible, and the way you do that is to chunk up every item and sell it individually instead of like one-off purchases like the last edition of Kill Team was. I do understand that, but they're just failing. Like, it would be fine if we still had to pay the same but had digital rule sets for it, Being book-based is insane in this day and age. Cool. I'm not going to harp on that for ages. We then go on to Stooge Code. There seems to be a general gap in streaming tournament games. Why do you think this is for Games Workshop? You've done it previously. Will you continue? Do you get the engagement you were expecting? Streaming is a tough one. It will not grow a channel, hence why the streaming scene on Twitch is non-existent and only leads to, frankly, very poor views. However, it may engage with existing viewers and so might be viable for an existing YouTube channel. For those of you unfamiliar with the differences between Twitch and YouTube, Twitch has no browse features. You just get a list of the most watched to the least watched. Whereas YouTube actively has an algorithm that pushes different types of content to people, and so you are able to grow a channel purely on YouTube, whereas Twitch, in case you think you're starting a Twitch channel, hot tip, you should not. You should start a TikTok, an Instagram, a YouTube, whatever, and then you take people from those algorithmically discovering based platforms and you push them to Twitch. You cannot start a channel on Twitch. There you go. Unless you all know what I'm going to say there. I won't finish that thought, but you know that there are some types that can. But we aren't those. We're #gamers. Cool. So I would like to and intend to stream more. I won't be able to be consistent with it though, but I hope that kind of starting next year, after the Christmas period where there's inevitably going to be a lot of gaps, I will stream at least once a week, but it's going to be kind of random days just to make sure I get the stream in, and possibly also random times. Also, although I'd love to be playing the game every week, the big reason I don't currently stream more often is because it has to involve other people being free at certain times, and I am not in control of other people. And so I can't guarantee it. He continues, you've got that awesome camera set up. Are regular battle reports going to be your things, or are you going to pivot away from that realm? So right now, I'm struggling to find the time to dedicate to regular battle reports. However, I would like that to be a thing I do. I can't commit to it though. So it's great to have an idea and a concept, but I can't commit to it. I would love to make it a thing though. In concept. Okay, right. Yeah. With your current move into more games, do you see your channel spanning out into something similar to Guerrilla Miniature Games, or remaining KT-centric, but with a sprinkle of other games? So Guerrilla Miniature Games is a really interesting case study of a channel. He's got a lot of subscribers because he's been around for a long time, but I imagine that he puts in more time and effort than a lot of other channels of his size, but doesn't get close to their views. He's also not doing anything to innovate on the shaky cam bat rep scene, which is a real shame for me personally, because I'd love to see that. But I do of course understand why he doesn't. He gets the most views on his Games Workshop videos, and I suspect that if he swapped to all of his bat reps being Games Workshop, he'd get a lot more views. I view him as both aspirational and a cautionary tale. McFloss. Can you still see? Yes. Good. Okay. McFloss asks, are there any miniature agnostic games that interest you? So if we're talking genuine miniature agnostic games as opposed to just games where it's very easy to swap Games Workshop models in for theirs, then the truth is that no, there aren't. Something I really value in my games is a strong narrative and cool minis, despite the fact that I just told you I don't value these as works of art that they are. I value them as tokens for a play experience. I'm a huge narrative, theme, story guy, and without accompanying miniatures that create the world, I don't know why I would play a miniature game as opposed to read a book, play a computer game, literally anything else, if I'm honest. Yeah. So something I really value in my games is a strong narrative, and cool minis. It's a great chance to dip into another cool universe. Generally, miniature agnostic games tend to be pretty light on such things, and so don't really draw me in truth. People do keep telling me to read play one-page rules though. I've read the rules. I've watched a battle report or two. I'm sure I'll play it one day, because why not? But, don't know. Doesn't seem like my thing, if I'm honest. I really enjoy good mechanics, and I might try a game for the mechanics alone, but when it comes to sticking with that game, I need a world I can bite into, and the miniatures make up a huge part of that. So, or at least with war games. So, mini agnostic games tend to not interest me, but I am open to being swayed on that. If somebody were to say, this is a mini agnostic game, but look at this, and then just blew me away, or just blew me, either one, then I would be like, you know what? Fair play. Nice. What are your thoughts on Infinity? He continues. So I've only played it twice, but I liked it. If there was a scene near me, and it was easy for me to play and get into, honestly, I would probably be playing it. There you go. However, I can't stand metal models. I do have to throw that dig in there. I really don't like metal. But yeah. If there was a scene I could jump into and it was super active near me, I'd play. But I don't have the motivation to try and start my own scene for it. There you go. He finishes up with head shaving video when. If you pledge enough, I will do a men's grooming tips for head shaving as I shave my head. Yes, go ahead. We then have Scuba Steve. How do you reckon you bridge the gap between competitive players and more narrative-leaning players so we all have fun? The first thing we do, chaps, is we stay hydrated. Chapesses and chapai as well, of course. Oh, this video is great. Right. I think that Kill Team does a really good job of blending the two because its core rules are actually pretty thematic, and its narrative, conversely, doesn't get too crazy. I think that competitive players need to ease off the obsessive repetition of TAC ops. Sorry, to clarify, that is the tactical objectives, not playing with TAC ops. Yeah, secondaries. I mean, the TAC ops, what are they called now? Assured objectives? Yeah. Honestly, even just going back to the original core critical ops missions, there's so much more variety. We've got 9 missions instead of 3, different, like deployments and stuff. And even just moving to different points on the map than the same ones we've been moving to for an entire year is probably going to help that. Narrative players, I don't know, play a game that allows for more narrative and accept that Kill Team isn't brilliant for it. There you go. We've achieved world peace. Well done. The competitive and the narrative may now dock with each other. He continues, I am playing Kasrkin at the moment and they are fun, but how would you give them a small buff? An extra operative would be nice. Must be a trooper and making them GA2 to avoid 11 activations. It's a delicate balance, as a dice manipulation team being strong is mega bad feels. So, I don't think they need a buff. But, if they had to be given a buff, I'd say a new strat ploy that kind of allowed everyone with a hotshot weapon to shoot twice. This would be a trade-off as they couldn't do anything else that turn, as it's just kind of letting them shoot twice, not giving them a free shoot action. And the hotshot weapons are only really good when burning up elite points and using additional CP to make them AP1, I think it is. Yeah, there you go. And it would kind of be on, because they are then forced to stand still, it would be on the opponent to be in the wrong place, as opposed to on you to get a sneaky move. Although you do have reposition, but still. That's what I think. Spardin, finally, final question, I believe. Let's double check. Yes, final question. Lovely jubbly. Custodes seem to be very close to bespoke teams in terms of power. Do you think they should go back to 4 APL if they didn't get any of the bespoke team extras such as war gear, etc.? And any other Compendium teams you think would need very little rework, work to be balanced versus the new stuff? So yeah, for sure, like this is really easy. The great thing about Compendium teams is that they're super easy to balance because they don't have any restrictions on model limits. You can take any team and just give them one extra model until they're balanced. There you go. You can't do this with specialist teams because they need to be valid from the single kill team box. Now, not every kill team would need extra models, some might only need 1 or 2 extra hit points each. Worst case scenario, and the real thing that all of the teams are missing, is a faction ability. Alternatively, a way to fix all of the teams would be a set of like 3 generic ploys that all Compendium factions get access to, like forward deploy, retain 1 dice on defense, and retain 1 dice on attack, something like that. Yeah, making all of the Compendium teams would be just about the quickest homebrew, super easy, barely an inconvenience. That was meant to be me playing on Ryan George's channel, but I said it just completely out of cadence, so you didn't realise I was saying super easy, barely an inconvenience. Nice. Smooth. Great. Yeah, or I mean, don't get me wrong, there would be some real nice to haves, like Grey Knights. Give all of them 1 extra, 2 extra hit points, and give them better psychic powers. But actually and you know, fix the heavy weapon, but they don't actually need all of that to be balanced and competitive. They don't need better psychic powers. They don't need their heavy gun to be fixed. They just need more health. Right? So you've got to consider the difference between balancing and quality of life changes. Quality of life changes will inevitably be a balancing factor, but they are kind of the subtleties and the nuances, the cracks, the crevices, the niches that are nice and will make the team more enjoyable alongside being stronger, but you're going to need a lot more of those changes than just +2 bodies, right? And that's the end of the questions. Thank you to all the patrons for sending them in, and if anyone still here wants to ask their own questions, consider becoming a patron, because honestly, if you made it to the end of this video, you are worthy. Not many people are going to do that, trust me. So, you know, if you made it to the end of the video and you're a patron, I'd like to give you a big triple hello.